Okay, I'm going to hide layer 17 and then come down here. As I mentioned in the previous video in task 3, what you do for like bringing out the contrast, you just add levels command, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a clipping mask so it only groups with that frying pan. And then what I do is I adjust this to make it brighter, and you can see here it automatically adjusts it. So what you're doing is you're improving the overall contrast. You could duplicate this layer and then add a clipping mask to each one. So what I would do is just take your Alt key, Option key if you're on the Mac, drag it up, and then you can go up to Layer, create clipping mask, and then if you wanted to, you can always adjust the sliders to make sure. It might be too much for the egg, so you adjust your sliders accordingly. The one thing is with your layers, it'd be nice if you have the layers kind of organized. So like the eyes, you know, this is where you name your layers. You really got to name them, and that's going to help with organization. Your shadow down here is not for this area is a little bit off. Okay, so if you're creating a cast shadow, then the light source, then you're going to have to adjust a couple of these. So this here, because you see how you got these feet with that. I'm not sure how you did that. So really with this, let me see here, I'm going to hide that. I'm going to create a drop shadow for your layer 14. Okay, and then what I want to do is go up to layer, layer style. I want to create the layer, and it's going to put the drop shadow on its own layer. So there, see it says down here, and then what I want to do is just go up to edit, transform, distort, and that's a little less, that's a little bit too much. Oh, fill option, I gotta change my fill option up here. There we go. So what you have to make sure you do is that you kind of line it up with those areas. Then if I create a cast shadow, whatever which angle I'm going, has to be in the same angle, this shadow. So this would have to come back here toward the back as well, because that's where the light source is going. And so you'd probably have to use a mask to hide some of this if you go back. And then most likely, because it's further up, you probably want to make this a little bit more blurry. So we're going to do filter blur, Gaussian blur. And so it just makes it less prevalent. Maybe change the opacity down a little bit more, but that's something to definitely want to look at. For your text, I would definitely go in. I would say flipping food would be centered, and then Fred right there. I would probably make Fred a little bit larger. Of course, you get more control if you have them on separate layers, so I'm going to cut that out. And I'm going to take my text tool, I'm going to paste. Okay, and then I'm going to go up to edit, free transform, rotate this around, and then I can resize that, and then I can control this a little bit better if you do it this way. So I'm going to center it, and then like with Fred, I would probably just add a little shadow or some outer glow to it. That's going to be a little bit too much. So it kind of stands out for that purpose. Even kind of resembles chalk. So stuff, little things to work on.